It's 11:59 at Gun Owners Radio, and this is the Penn Patriot, music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, and another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind American lines, this is your song.
Mentioned that all the amendments kind of depend on the second one, and my friends and I were talking, and we kind of felt like if the people were to rise up over the government, we don't really feel like our guns would be able to stand up against the U.S. military.
Yeah, we would. You'd be surprised. Let's take one example.
Right.
You guys might remember the Hong Kong protests a couple years ago. If they would have had firearms, it would have been a completely different situation. The Chinese Communist Party wouldn't have taken over Hong Kong if every one of them had an AR-15 strapped around their back. The number one way you look in the 20th century that the worst countries are able to take power, Nazi Germany, Soviet Union, Pol Pot, Mao's China, the first thing they did is they took the guns. Taking guns is the beginning of the end of the rest of your freedoms. So that's my answer.
Thank you.
So it was Christmas this past week, and it was a really good Christmas. I thought it was really great. I got to tell you, I'm at the age where I don't know if Santa's supposed to come or not, but what I was really looking forward to most was this rainstorm. And it was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. I was really looking forward to watching some rain, and this was nothing for like a week. This thing was going to be amazing. Hearing San Diego, and I don't know, maybe I didn't really pay that close attention, but maybe Northern California and got hammered and we didn't. But other than that, Christmas was good.
I think there was some rain some places, but I was expecting like massive flooding, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, I was expecting something. I just wanted to see some rain.
Yeah,
that was
it
going to be
some sprinkles.
Little inconvenience when going out shopping. Bring groceries to your car in the rain. That's about it.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to a wet
Pretty
Christmas. But how was your Christmas, Dakota?
It was great. It was awesome. We stayed local, stayed in San Diego this year. My husband and I have been together for 10 years, and we almost always travel somewhere for Christmas, go to his family or my family, or we've done like a tropical trip. We went to Costa Rica one year for Christmas. So we usually do something, but this year we were like, you know what? We've got the dogs, we've got our house, let's just stay in and do our own Christmas.
And this is your first, although you've been together 10 years, this is your first Christmas as a married couple. Huh?
It is, yes. Yeah, first Christmas post-wedding. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys were getting together for 10 years.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So you
September of 2015.
You guys went through college and everything together then.
Yep.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep, super fun.
So. All right.
How about you, Alicia? How was your Christmas?
It was great. We also stayed local. We just got together, the kids, and went to the in-laws and spent time with family. I was able to spend some time visiting my dad. He's in a facility, so that was kind of nice to get to see him. And
that is nice. How's he doing?
That was good. He's doing all right.
Yeah.
They're taking good care of him. Yeah.
Good.
And was Santa? Were you on the naughty list or the nice list? Santa, did you get taken care of this year?
He's like, I don't know how to answer that one.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Just yeah.
It's just this is.
You made it to both lists?
I don't know. Yeah, I've never given much thought to that. What's funny is we just do Christmas for the kids.
Yeah.
We don't do it for the adults. So I don't know how to answer that. I'm not sure. I don't know where I stand.
And the kids aren't kids anymore, are they?
Well, they're always going to be my kids.
Yeah.
So,
but they're like all adults.
They're right? Yeah. My youngest is 18 and the oldest is 27. But they're always going to be my kids.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So this is as far as Gun Owners Radio. This is, I guess we switched over like at the end of October last year. So it's been just over a year since we left radio. We left terrestrial radio and went to podcast. But 2025 will be our first full calendar year as a podcast. And, I think it went really, really well. I think that the switch over to podcast, it continues to grow. I think it's going really, really well in a lot of ways. We're getting some things done. I think there's even a little bit more. I think there's even a little bit more focus. Where the radio show it was tough to track. Like you never knew. You went in and you did a radio show, and then it went out into the into the atmosphere, you never really knew how many
Right.
people were listening. And now it's, I think it's far more engaging with the listeners. But I don't know. How do you think it went?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easier for us to know what kind of material that our listeners actually want to hear from us, because we get to see which segments do the best and, which ones get the most interaction online. And that kind of helps us, decide what direction we're taking the show. So,
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think went really, really well last year? When you look back at Gun Owners Radio, what's something you were like, all right, cool, we nailed that?
I think that in general, the show, I mean, obviously this is my first year on the show, right? So I can't really speak about like what it was like when it was on the radio. But I think that one of the things I really have enjoyed about the show is just how much range of, this is Gun Owners Radio, but we talk about so many things and not just gun stuff, general self-defense and politics and other things. That's just, for me, really interesting and really fun to get to research, for the segments each week. What are we talking about this week? Let me look into it. Let me have an opinion on this thing that maybe I didn't really know much about before it showed up on the, on the segment list,
script,
right?
yeah. I got to tell you, I definitely, if I'm interested in something, I definitely like stretch, like, this is kind of gun related.
Right,
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll tie it in somehow.
Yeah. Can you spell the word gun? You're on the show. Great.
Yes. So I've really just enjoyed how much wider the show is than what I originally thought it was going to be when I became a co-host. I thought we were just going to talk about guns all the time, and it's got a lot more range than
Well,
that,
what was your
so.
motivation for coming on the show when I invited you to come and try it out?
Yeah.
What was your motivation? Why did you want to give it a try?
I really enjoy, I'm an opinionated person. I like sharing opinions about things, but I'm not really good or interested in getting good at social media. And so this was just kind of like a different way to do what I, in my head, what I would love to have my social media be, which is me talking about, interesting things happening in the Second Amendment space and, putting up these videos and things like that. I just don't have the bandwidth or the time or the interest really in becoming a video editor and like doing that. And so when you asked me to come on the show and try it out as a co-host, I was like, oh, let me see, what this feels like. And to me, it kind of does fill that void that I felt like I had. I'm super involved in Second Amendment related stuff, but I'd like to talk about it more. And that's how I was feeling kind of when you called. And so it just kind of felt like a good transition into something a little bit more vocal.
I remember you had so much going on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised that no one had already contacted you and said, "Hey, come and make my show better."
Yeah, I think the thing is that I'm just not good at like trying to build my following, and I've never really focused on that. So, I mean, I have followers who care a lot about what I post, but I don't have the numbers that people are usually looking for when they're looking for somebody to come help them do something,
There's definitely, I think we're definitely a niche show, and it's and I'm fine with that in a lot of ways. I mean,
of course.
we're niche in a lot of different ways. We're very focused on San Diego, and San Diego is, 3.5 million people. We're a little less focused on Southern California and California in general. But honestly, I think there are definitely enough people in California and San Diego to make it a show. Yeah. And I think even outside of California, there are people who care about what's going on here and maybe want to duplicate it or whatever. But the other thing I think that makes us kind of niche is I think we're not just informative. In other words, we don't just recap, hey, here's what happened with this story or this lawsuit or whatever. We actually talk about some of the things that we've been a part of doing, people that have gotten elected or different things that we've actually been a part of making happen. But the other thing is, I think more so than many really dedicated Second Amendment shows and even some dedicated political shows, I think we talk about this stuff in a very calm, pragmatic way. which honestly, I think there's a lot of people out there that they'd much rather have kind of the drama, the big boom, like,
Yeah.
oh, the sky's falling, and that's fine. I think
There's-
that we appeal to a different crowd that way.
There's so much rage bait out there too, and I think sometimes we will show a clip that kind of is rage bait and
Right.
then talk about how ineffective that is to get people onto your side or to bring people closer to you. And I think one thing that I really enjoy about our show is we don't try to just talk to people who agree with us completely. We're not just trying to hammer it into our, base that already believes Second Amendment is great and whatever. Like sometimes we have segments where we are trying to kind of talk about, okay, well, here's what people on the other side could think
Yeah.
and how we want to change people's minds. And so I really appreciate that this show isn't rage bait and isn't just trying to, get people riled up and mad in the comments,
I'll tell you guys a little secret. I don't know if you guys know this or not. There have been, just in the last year, there have been, I'm going to say at least a dozen times when somebody who is a, Second Amendment advocate who doesn't like the fact that we don't focus on this or we don't talk about that or we're, we don't get all riled up over whatever. And I've invited them on the show.
Right.
And said, great, come on the show and let's talk about it. Right. Not one time, not one time has anyone taken me up on that.
Well, and if they're so mad, they can make their own show. Go ahead, talk to folks.
I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they won't take me up on it. But it's a sincere offer.
It's the same mentality as the keyboard warriors that like to fight and argue, but won't have a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly want to. It's a sincere. It's always a sincere invite, and I really do want to have a good conversation with them. But I think they're really just more comfortable just kind of throwing stones and grenades to where they don't have to deal with the consequence. Whatever. But I like talking to people who I disagree with, or we maybe just have like a different perspective. I really do like that. So Alicia, this is our first full year.
First full year.
You were on, you were with us on the radio show. Now you're here
Correct.
with the podcast, of course. What are your thoughts in the last year? How do you think it went?
I think it's fantastic. I think one huge benefit that we have going podcast, as I'm sure listeners that have been around for both platforms have observed, is the lack of excessive commercials.
Yeah.
We have sponsors, but we don't have to fill the time with so much commercial content that we get very little interaction. So it's nice. I like this platform better. And I just like the flexibility that we have.
Yeah.
So it's been
Going
fantastic.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were asking about favorite segments.
Yes.
I was trying to think back. I was going back, like, which one stood out to me the most? I will tell you, I personally have had an emotional year. It's been kind of a tough year personally. We did a show about mental health. And I will tell you, having gone through some things at home and in my personal life, that show kind of hit hard and it hit close to home. And that was a powerful one for me. So that would be.
That was your favorite?
Yeah.
The most meaningful for you?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well, like you said, Dakota, we talk about a lot of things and mental health and something. I think some of the guests that you normally wouldn't see on a gun show have truly. I think they've been by far my most favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people were. They're not a trainer or they're not a politician or whatever. I mean, I like the politicians, I like the trainers, but when we find somebody in a mental health, expertise or whatever, a story about mental health, and we can get them on and talk about it, that stuff is pretty interesting. Yeah,
and there's a plethora of them that are actually Second Amendment advocates that also just see the importance of mental health. So it's not always from a negative perspective. That's important to know.
I think my favorite one was when we interviewed the guy who was on the church security team for was it Michigan shooting? And I think that show, I mean, just how down to earth he was. He felt like salt of the earth people. And it was just a great reminder that, so many people in the Second Amendment community are really, really good people, despite some of the not so nice comments and stuff that we get from people who are pro 2A on our show. So it was a good reminder that people are generally very kind and, good, deep down, very good people that care about their community, care about keeping people safe. And that story I just thought was so impactful because the media covered it so poorly. And that, we were kind of mad coming into that interview. Like, why has this, these heroes at this church on this church security team hardly gotten any acknowledgement for their involvement in stopping somebody who is actively shooting a rifle into the church building? So yeah, I thought that interview was great, and just kind of, anti-media once again, showing how bad the mainstream media is at covering these things. And I think we did a pretty good job of covering that story.
We did. Fortunately, we had a local connection. Their trainer just happened to be one of our buddies here, Jeff in San Diego, and I'm very appreciative of that. But it's interesting you brought that up. I think 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, I saw a video where somebody was complaining about the lack of coverage from the mainstream media when it comes to a good guy with a gun, and he brought that up.
Oh, interesting.
He brought up that instance, and I think he was. In fact, I know he was from Michigan, and he said, he was like, "Hey, this just happened right up the street," and nobody talked about it. I was like, "Hey, we did. We talked about it. We interviewed those guys." But you're right. For some reason, that it's a non-story. It didn't fit the narrative or whatever.
Well, and even like I was so surprised how low the views were on that segment, because to me, like, I love watching. Obviously, I hope that nothing like this actually happens, and it's bad when somebody shows up with a gun to try to kill people, obviously. But I love watching stories about heroes like this, and about people who are concealed carrying, taking, matters into their own hands before police arrive and saving lives. Like, that is so cool to me, because as concealed carriers, like, we all are, walking around in the world with the potential that that's going to happen. And why not learn from other people's experiences, and, from mistakes that were made, or not, great things that they did that were perfect answers in the moment. And so I was really surprised that there weren't that many views on those segments. I'm glancing on the YouTube right now. It looks like we got like 800 views on that interview. And I just thought, that show was really good. So it kind of goes back to that discussion of like, why isn't it popular when good guys with guns are stopping bad guys with guns? And I think a lot of it is that maybe it's just not what we're seeing in front of our face. It's not getting fed to us from the algorithm. So I wonder how many people saw some sort of local news coverage of that, but never even saw that there was a whole interview with the heroes involved.
Well, and the thing that I really, really liked about that, me personally, is it addressed my greatest fear, and it was all. It has to do with mindset. My greatest fear is that I will see something unfolding and not recognize. Kind of go, I don't know. I mean, maybe
it's fireworks.
Yeah, maybe it's fireworks. Maybe that person's a cop. Maybe this is planned. Maybe they're actually a good, and like worry about jumping in too quick.
Yeah.
And the guy that stopped that, he used his automobile, he used his truck.
He used the tool that he had.
He used the tool that he had to stop this guy. And I the whole time I just remember thinking to myself, I don't know if I'd be able to do that. I don't know if I would have. It's not that I'm worried about stopping a bad guy. I'm worried about like, is this
what it appears to be?
Yeah. And that I think that anytime you have a fear like that, or a concern, or however you want to phrase it, and you engage in a story and it makes you think about it, I think that's a good thing. That's an important thing. If you're worried about something in particular and you have to actually evaluate it, you have to actually kind of face it. Even though it wasn't a first person, it was me, talking to people that were there, having to deal with that in your own head, I think benefits, your mindset, or benefits whatever that
gives
fear
you
is.
A mental rep. It gives you a
mental rep. Yeah.
Right, because if we don't spend time preparing for the what ifs, we're likely to revert to a poor decision in the moment.
Yeah.
So
that's I think that's the thing I liked about that segment the most is it helped me address something that I still am worried about. I'm still like, I don't know, and I can think of personal instances where I've seen like, are they fighting, or what I mean? Should I go help, or is that happening, or and just not quite sure. And I think honestly, I think a part of it is kind of a personal freedom thing. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like,
100%.
leave me alone. I'll leave you alone. But sometimes in society, you gotta, jump in and say, hey, this isn't right or whatever. But still, I just never quite know. I never quite know exactly what exactly is happening here.
I think that's so common. Like people who are involved in shootings or are involved in something that's like so crazy. Like I remember watching interviews of the Boston Marathon bombing victims,
Yeah.
and how like even when they're seeing and hearing like this is definitely a bomb, their
Yeah.
brain is like trying to rationalize like what else could this have been? Maybe a plane crash, maybe whatever. And a lot of times in the moment, it doesn't really matter what's happening. It just matters that you make the next best decision.
Right.
So, like for a situation where somebody has a gun, next best decision is probably going to be you getting your body somewhere where you can't get shot, or getting involved if that's what you're going to choose to do. If it's a situation where somebody's massively bleeding in front of you, the next best decision is going to be putting pressure on the wound. Like, it's all about making that next choice to let your brain kind of catch up and figure out, okay, what should I do from here? I think a lot of times our brain jumps to try to rationalize like, oh, this couldn't be happening to me or whatever. And I think that's normal. And a lot of times, like this guy from Michigan, he was even saying his brain was doing that at first, but very quickly he was like, no, this is a problem and I need to get involved, So I think it's normal for our brains to have that like momentary lapse of trying to rationalize. But then a lot of times people, especially if you've got some training and you've done the mental reps, will pretty immediately come back to like, okay, this is real. Let me start making
get
good
in there.
choices. Yeah.
I hope so. I like to think, in my head, I'm always the hero in every situation. You know what I mean? And I like to think it, but I think facing it is probably the best preparation for it.
Yeah.
The training and facing it. But
Well, and feeling prepared, right?
Yeah.
Feeling confident in your skill level so you know what to get involved in versus not. There's the famous story of the bicycle cop who stopped the mass shooter who was shooting up the hospital on the base, and he got off his bike and he knelt down and he hit this dude at like, I can't remember. It was like crazy, 80 yards or do you guys know what I'm talking about?
no, I don't remember that story. He was a motorcycle cop?
No, a bicycle. Google will help me. Bicycle cop shoots mass shooter on. It was a long time ago on military base. I want to say this was, Fairchild Air Force Base, 1994. This is a long time ago.
Jeez.
Killed 22 people, or killed 4 people, wounded 22 others. And Brown was the officer with his 9mm Beretta M9 pistol, hit the gunman between the eyes at approximately 70 yards away, killing him
70
instantly.
yards.
70 yards with a handgun.
Good for that guy.
After quickly pedaling to the scene, like he got the call on the radio, started pedaling his bicycle frantically towards the shooter, saw the guy with I think it was a rifle, got off his bike, knelt down, took 2 shots, hit both shots, which was crazy, right? Like you think about how far that is, and I don't know exactly what his like prior training had been, but obviously he felt confident enough to press the trigger where he was instead of waiting until he got closer or whatever. And I think that confidence goes so far. If you know how well you can shoot at what distances and all of that, you're gonna be able to make better choices for you. And luckily for good guys, a lot of times bad guys aren't great shooters. So
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Well, I think my favorite episode, I'm really tempted to say the guy from the Enemies Project.
oh yeah, that was a good show.
Loved that conversation
Yeah.
so much. I remember sitting here, like you were talking to him, and I remember like sitting here like a little kid, like me, I wanna, and then I just had a ton of questions for him,
Yeah.
and his answers were so fantastic. I think that what he is doing and why he's doing it is extremely interesting. So I'm really tempted to say that one, but honestly, I think my favorite was when everything was happening with USCCA. And a bunch of their spokespeople dumped them. And all of us, like overnight, people were bashing USCCA. And I hadn't really been keeping up on it. I made the decision a long time ago, years ago, because USCCA came through town, and a couple of them. I don't need to name them, but a couple of those that offer similar services came through San Diego, and we were just building San Diego County Gun Owners, and they were, like, hey, here we are, and we should be your exclusive guy. And I remember making the decision early that we were going to be agnostic, like, hey,
Yeah.
and, we're just going to tell people you need this product. Who you get it from is totally up to you. I didn't want to play favorites. And so, we came up with our page. If you go to our websites, if you go to stcgo.org/legal defense, we have a side-by-side comparison where we asked them all the same questions, say, hey, how does your product work? Anyway, so I wasn't really paying attention to USCCA. USCCA has been a wonderful partner with us. I don't even want to say partner, but they've been a wonderful friend. But so have some of the other ones. So I wasn't really paying attention. And then boom, it was like this avalanche of crap coming down on USCCA. And I thought, wait, what is really going on here? And so I did some looking and some listening, and then decided, you know what, I really want to get to the bottom of this. And we invited Gary Gibson in. I trust him, more than so many people. I mean, he's just such an excellent guy and such a good attorney. I knew that I would get like the no BS, story from him. So we invited Gary.
And he's unbiased. He takes payment from all different kinds of insurance companies. He's not he's not a
he doesn't need
fanboy.
anybody.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't need.
Right.
If USCCA went out of business tomorrow, he would,
He'd be fine.
he would be more. He would be just as successful. If USCCA, stayed in business for 100 years, it wouldn't affect Gary. Gary's a well-established, extremely successful attorney, and he's a really great guy. So I decided, hey, let's have him in and let's have just a conversation and explain what exactly is going on. Why are people upset or whatever? And I thought it was a really good show.
Yep.
I think that it was really good information. I think a lot of people, not a lot, but there were some people that didn't like that we wouldn't go along with their chosen narrative.
Right. Yep.
And I'm not really interested in narratives. I'm interested in, what is really going on here? What's the real truth? What are the real facts? And a lot of people were very interested in it. In fact, so many people saw that episode that I got a message from a guy I knew in high school. I went to high school in Hawaii. And this guy I hadn't talked to in like 15 years. Like, hey man, do you have a podcast or something? He just came into my feed and I watched a show, and I'm pretty sure it was you. So a lot of people really valued that, and I'm glad they did. And I don't think that we came down on any particular side. We just said, hey, here's the information.
Mm-hmm.
Do with it what you want, but here's the information. And it doesn't appear that some of the narrative is accurate. It appears that it really went a certain way, and there's probably room for some improvement, but there also just doesn't seem to be this motivation that people were assigning to USCCA. So, and Gary did a fantastic job of just laying it out there and explaining, like, hey, here's how it is. Here's my experience. Here's what they promise. Here's, how they delivered on their promise. Here's what they could have done a little better. And I'm glad. And it looks like USCCA is still doing just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, I think, that we recognized the need and the way we filled the need and addressed it. Again, kind of that level-headed, pragmatic, like, okay, let's just figure out what the story is and not get all excited and, hey, the sky's falling. I thought that was my favorite episode from 2025. Hands down. Although, like I said, Enemies Project was a close second. So, okay, so the best thing that happened in the Second Amendment world in 2025. What do you got? You got one, Alicia?
I've got so many in my head. I'm having a hard time picking my favorite.
Throw one out there. Let's see. I'll let you know if you're right or not.
As far as you distracted me by other conversations and I lost it. There was Alan Beck. Okay,
Yeah.
Alan Beck came in. A lot of things that Beck was talking about, a lot of the movement that he's been able and traction he's been able to get, a kind of I'm a fan of Alan Beck.
Yep, Attorney Alan Beck.
Absolutely.
He's about to go to the Supreme Court
Right.
with the sensitive areas case.
Correct, and
out of Hawaii.
that's where I was going.
Yep.
So I know that the case out of Hawaii going to Supreme Court will have some bearing on ours. And as far as us, because we're here in California, for me, that's a big case. That's a really big, important one. And the movement that's starting to happen, the momentum that's starting to happen that's for me, I think, going to be the biggest.
Well, lawsuits in general, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, pre-Bruin, really,
Right.
lawsuits were a pipe dream. Pipe dream.
Yeah.
And there's really, I mean, nobody.
Look at them now.
Yeah, and now it's like they're all over the place.
Yep.
And I get it. I remember one of our very first members, who he went to law school. He was law enforcement. He went to law school, so he was kind of an older, more experienced law school graduate. I think he graduated law school. He was already 30 or something like that, right? So he was explaining to me that back in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of Fourth Amendment lawsuits.
Right.
And that,
Yeah.
if you look, he was a big fan of law enforcement magazines. He kind of collected law enforcement magazines from like the 50s and 40s. That was just a hobby of his. He liked the history of law enforcement. And the advice that they were giving law enforcement in the 50s and 60s was a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. And then there were a series of lawsuits and decisions that came out that said, no. We got to. This is the Fourth Amendment. Here's how to protect your Fourth Amendment rights. This is what the Fourth Amendment means. This is what law enforcement can and can't do. And now people have an understanding of the Fourth Amendment as if that's always how it's been.
Right.
But it hasn't. And so he explained to me, this was right around when Bruin was starting to happen, that it's the Second Amendment's turn. That there haven't been that many lawsuits, and decisions when it comes to the Second Amendment. And now we're kind of poking and prodding and going, all right, how far is too far, when it comes to, the anti-gunners, that sort of thing. So the Second Amendment, 10, 15 years from now, will be, solidified more as far as, what can and can't happen. And that's what we're going through. So a lot of people are looking at these lawsuits like, gee, how come they're not taking more? And meanwhile, I'm going, I can't believe they're taking so many. This is amazing.
Right.
This is absolutely amazing. This is great in a lot of ways. It's dangerous. Lawsuits are a roll of the dice, man. It is a
It can go
gamble.
either way. Yeah.
If it goes against you, the good thing about lawsuits is once the decision's out, it's written in stone. The bad part about lawsuits is once the decision's out, it's written in stone. So everybody just thinks like, hey man, Second Amendment, it's always going to go our way. Man, we have thus far threaded a needle and gotten some really good things from some fantastic people. We got to keep it this way, and the only way to keep it this way is to make sure to elect the right people, because they're the ones that appoint judges, and it's a whole big, set of dominoes. But lawsuits, I think you're right. I think that the lawsuits that are happening are phenomenal. And Alan Beck, I'm so thankful for that guy. He's like the little engine that could of attorneys.
Right.
He's not,
Right.
He's such a hard working, roll up my sleeves and just get it done guy.
Right. Right.
He's not really partnered with a big organization, and I think a lot of people have advised him to go a more traditional route and kind of like, hey, just leave this up to the established attorneys who are already doing things. And he's kind of going, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do my thing. And good for him. Good for you, Alan.
Well, he got the knives brought back.
Yeah.
Yep. The knives, blackjacks, all those things, bats, batons. Or he's working on the knives, bats, and batons are back. He's a little powerhouse.
Yep.
Look out.
Yeah.
Yep. He's awesome. Dakota, what do you got? Best thing that's happened in Second Amendment in 2025.
There's just so much happening in
I was
Second
having a hard time
Amendment.
picking one.
Yeah, I mean the Hawaii one's great because it's going to challenge. I think basically in Hawaii right now, concealed carry permit holders have to request permission from the private property owner or manager of the property if they want to carry a gun onto the private property. So that's sort of similar to sensitive places stuff that we have in California. So that'll be
SB2.
good, but we don't have a decision on that one yet, but it's in the works.
Yep.
There's some other stuff in the works. As far as decisions that have been made, I think the Smith and Wesson versus Estados Unidos, the Mexican American Smith and Wesson manufacturer one was really interesting. Basically reaffirmed manufacturers' rights in that the people can't blame the manufacturer for criminals using their guns in crimes, which obviously, like, why would you blame the manufacturer for a cartel having Smith and Wessons? I don't understand that at all. But that was a good win. We've got the 18 to 20-year-old kind of working through right now.
Yep.
Louisiana, I think, said it was unconstitutional. That was a state level win, but I think the Supreme Court might be hearing that, right?
I haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, but maybe it's possible that they're going to be hearing that, so that'll be interesting.
We're plaintiffs on a lawsuit here in California that
Is
and
for the same thing.
Yeah, and it could be creating a split, which a lot of times results in the Supreme Court taking it.
What else? I don't know. What are
There's not like one thing that sticks out where you're like, oh man, what a great year for Second Amendment.
I think there's just so many different things happening. I mean, like on the Second Amendment front, we're fighting age restrictions. We're fighting, nonviolent felons owning firearms. We're fighting users of illegal drugs owning firearms. Or like, there's just in almost every way, we're saying, hey, everyone deserves the right to protect their life, even when historically they maybe didn't have that right. And so I don't know. I think there's just been so much positive movement on the Second Amendment front that I can't really.
It's been a good year.
Can't really say one.
Here's mine. I really am excited about this, and I hope it doesn't fall flat. I'm really excited about the way that the Trump administration is handling and dealing with the Second Amendment in general. They've set up a civil right in their civil rights division. They've set up a Second Amendment, area basically, and for years, for the entire existence of San Diego County gun owners, treating the Second Amendment like the civil right that it is has been something that's been very important to me, particularly fighting it that way and from that angle in California. It's been extremely important.
Yeah.
So the fact that the DOJ, the United States of America, the federal government's Department of Justice and their Civil Rights Division now has a Second Amendment focus is huge. And I think that it has the potential to pay huge dividends. And, I've talked a lot about, there's this guy named Jonathan Haidt, who I like very much, Haidt. And he came up with this 6 moral foundation theory, and I really like his work, and I base a lot of our communications off of, basically what I do is I take an issue and I put it through that prism. And the fact that people are, the DOJ particularly, are looking at it through in essence, caring and fairness lens, which is exactly what is happening when you're treating it like it's the civil right it is, rather than a tradition or an authority or, So before, we used to kind of treat the Second Amendment, a lot of Second Amendment advocacy had to do with, well, my grandfather taught me how to hunt, and then my father, learned from him, and I learned from him. It's a tradition, and, therefore, whatever. And, the Constitution is the authority of the country. And all that's true. None of that's untrue. It's all very true. But the idea that, hey, this is a civil right. People are being affected by this. People's safety is, being compromised because they aren't able to defend themselves, even though they have the civil right to self-defense. That's huge. I think it's extremely powerful. And even if it's just a message, like, hey, we're gonna file an amicus brief, or we're going to make a statement or whatever. Even if it's just that, it's still powerful, but it looks like it's going to be a lot more. In fact,
Yeah.
they just filed a lawsuit in Washington, D.C. And the other thing about this that's really, really interesting is the person who's out in front is an attorney named Harmeet Dillon. And Harmeet Dillon was, the chair or vice chair of the Republican Party here in California. She is a Californian. And I think to me, there's something really cool about a Californian fighting hard for the civil right, to keep and bear arms.
Yeah.
And so 59 other states look at us and laugh and criticize. And meanwhile, we're the ones doing the work out here, like so many other states, they're sitting in a pro Second Amendment state. They're owning the guns they want to own. They're carrying, in the way that they want to carry. They didn't have to fight for any of that. They just moved there, or, you know what I mean? And like, meanwhile, we're out here fighting. We're the ones that are actually, doing the work to make sure that, now in fairness, we're also the ones, Californians in general, also the ones that are screwing things up. But still, the patriots out here that are fighting, and treating the Second Amendment like it's, the civil right that it is, and fighting for it, I think it's great. I think, I remember we had a slogan for a couple years. The road to 2A goes through CA, and it's still true. I think that all these fights, California has been a major part of solidifying the Second Amendment and making sure that it's respected and strong. So I think that civil rights division that focuses on Second Amendment through the U.S. Department of Justice, that's by far my favorite thing in 2025 to happen. I hope it pays the dividends that it could and should. So, what didn't go well? What didn't go well in 2025? What's something that you thought, oh man, like we really dropped that ball? I'm so disappointed. Or how come that couldn't have been better? Any thoughts? How about I go first? Mine is the NFA thing.
I was thinking that, but I hesitated to say it went bad because we still, there's still time. Right?
There's still time, but
there's still, still a chance.
That should have, everybody, so many gun owners voted for Republicans because the Republicans said, give us Congress, give us the White House,
Right.
give us the courts, and we'll do good things for your Second Amendment.
And then?
Okay, well, there was your opportunity, guys,
Yeah.
And it was so half-assed and so, I mean, the Guns and Gadgets, Jared, led a charge on that, and that was fantastic. Shouldn't have to have been that way.
Right.
And we didn't get what we needed to get. We're still having to file a lawsuit, Firearms Policy Coalition and some of the other groups filed a lawsuit, but gun owners in general still had to file a lawsuit. I mean, it's ridiculous. This thing should have and could have been solved. Yeah, I feel like we have 4 years. Maybe we have 8, maybe we have 12, but we know we have 4 years. Every year there should be a big thing. And if that's their first big thing and they fumbled it like they did, I don't have a lot of faith. It really kind of scares me. So that's the thing I was most disappointed with.
Yeah.
So
I agree. That was super disappointing. I also think you were just talking about the positive aspects of the Trump DOJ and Second Amendment stuff, but I think just like a week ago, they basically affirmed that just because the tax is going away on NFA items doesn't mean that registration goes away. So
Right.
they're still pro-registration. So it's like there's pros and cons to all of these things. Like there's good things coming out of the DOJ. There's also things I don't agree with. There's, decisions that are being made that I think Republicans should have voted differently on. There's decisions being made that are just, to me, very asinine. Things like the California background check on ammo. For that to be a thing in the first place is so crazy to me. Like, how the heck Do we need a background check to buy ammunition? Like, that is insane. But, at the same time, we did have a win. The downside, and why I look at that as a negative, is that we even had to fight that in the first place, that we had to waste resources, waste money, waste time fighting something that to me is so clearly not going to be held up in court. And it's just frustrating from the, advocacy perspective to see all of these laws passing that truly don't have any chance of making it past a legal challenge.
We hope.
Well, like the
Yeah.
ammo background check
Right.
to me was pretty clearly like not going to hold up, but we still had to waste so much time and spend so much money fighting it. And that's what's frustrating.
Well, and I agree with you, by the way, the DOJ, like Pam Bondi as Attorney General.
Not a fan.
Not
Not
a
a fan.
fan.
Yeah, same.
If she weren't surrounded by pro-Second Amendment people like Harmeet Dillon and some others, we wouldn't be anywhere. The drive to defend the Second Amendment isn't coming from Pam Bondi. In fact,
Right.
even broader, I'm just not impressed by her at all.
I know when she got into office, we spent some
Yeah.
time talking
Yeah.
about it. We're like, we'll give it time to see how it
Yep.
shakes out and see how she does. We weren't. I personally was hopeful,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but we
same.
didn't have a whole lot of faith.
I mean, she's not Merrick Garland, but
Right.
she's,
Right.
But as far as I'm glad she's surrounded by pro Second Amendment people.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Right.
that those folks, open their doors to NRA and GOA and FPC and these other groups that influence them. But if it were just left to Pam Bondi, then we would
Right, screwed.
We'd be screwed.
And for me, you were mentioning about the suppressors and the stamps and all that. And so for me, that personally, in thinking, I was like, we'll give them some thought. What was the worst? For me, that one didn't have a whole lot of an impact because I've never had that right. That wasn't first on my mind. So when you first asked, my first thought went to AB 1263 because that's something that is something that will affect me as far as how I've operated before, and now I'm going to have to operate differently.
How are you going to tell people how you got to operate?
So AB 1263, this is what's going to limit the transfer of barrels and accessories and all those things. If you'd like to do builds and ARs, you want to get a different slide for your firearms so that you can put an optic without having to mill. It's really just going to affect. You were talking about the frustration with background checks. Well, now there's essentially going to be a type of check now with these parts if you're doing builds or replacements or any of the like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, that's the crap that came out of 2025.
And I think that, and it's going to take a while. I mean, clearly a barrel is a pretty important part when it comes to a gun.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if it's a crucial part of a gun, then obviously it should have. I mean, if you can ban or regulate or over-regulate a part that is crucial to a gun, then you are in effect banning, regulating, or over-regulating the gun.
Right.
Which,
Exactly.
is something. This is going to take every lawsuit. I tell people all the time, you got to have, $500,000 in 10 years.
Right.
To win a lawsuit, that's what you need. So anybody who says, hey, we should file this lawsuit, I say, great, give me $500,000 in 10 years. But I think that hopefully the results of this AB, what is it, 1263? Hopefully the results will be to, solidify the fact that, hey, you can't, over-regulate and ban these parts because, in effect, you're over-regulating and banning. I hope that that's the result. That's the best case scenario. But it's going to take time. People are going to hurt, between now and then. And unfortunately, we got to take money out of our pockets to defend this, And it's funny. We have to take money out of our right pocket to pay people to reverse this. Meanwhile, they're taking money out of our left pocket
Right.
in the form of taxes to, support these anti-gun, bills. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's extremely frustrating.
Yeah, there's so much happening in California. I was kind of thinking a little bit more generally, but like AB 1127 is a big one, right? Like no more new Glocks, taking Glock Gen 3s off the roster. 1263, we had the
1078.
1078 was a bad one. We had 383, which is also about like barrels and background checks and all of that. There was I'm not going to remember the number, but there was the one about gun violence restraining orders that started like pilot programs in a bunch of counties in California, making it easier to issue GVROs. So, I mean, yeah, California has felt like downhill at the same time that we're winning other things in California in court. So, they're continuing to pass these bills that probably aren't going to hold up, but are going to cost us time and effort to fight them.
So what do you think has to change? Going into 2026, what is something that you think has to change about the way we fight or the show or Second Amendment or the way we teach or the way people learn or the way we communicate? What's something that you think, hey, we got to work on changing? We got to be better in this area. Anything in particular? Like, where's our room for improvement?
Yes. To all of them.
Everything?
All of them.
All the things?
I think a powerful, because we talk about this with legislators too. It matters who you vote into office, and it's not just the big offices that start small. Well, the same thing starts with your friends.
Yeah.
Start small. If you have friends that are on the fence about firearms or kind of have a bad opinion, invite them to the range with you. Kind of start small and make those changes at that level where we can have an impact. I think that's powerful. Not only that, but a lot of these, right away, I had a hard time kind of coming up with what was the greatest Second Amendment win for the year. It was pretty easy. It was what was the worst? Well, that was an easy one for me because there's so much.
Yeah.
How do we fight that? Lawsuits. Right. Unfortunately, right. So give your time, give your money, right? Because if we, these lawsuits, as you said, it takes a whole lot of money to fund them.
Yeah.
The organizations that are supporting those, bring the lawsuits, support them so that they can continue to fight.
Yeah. And get the right people elected.
Yep.
That's the ounce of prevention.
Absolutely.
Lawsuits are
At every level, not just the big stuff.
Takes 150 pounds of cure, and that's what a lawsuit is. Or you can do an ounce of prevention, which is getting the right people elected.
And do both.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do we got to do better to go to?
I think like kind of a personal goal for me is just engaging a little bit more with our audience. There's a lot of folks leaving comments on the YouTube videos and stuff, kind of being a little bit more involved there. We also want to give you guys the shows that you want. So if you've got ideas, if you've got things you want us to do different, leave it in the comments. Let us know, and we'll read those and take them into consideration. We're not going to make any promises, but we'll think about them, right? So yeah, I think kind of interacting with our listeners a little bit more is something that personally I want to do. And then I think just the direction of the show, honestly, I've really liked where it's been going. I like the, segment layout, how we've been doing the individual segments. I think there's a lot of positive things that we did this year. And yeah, just looking forward to seeing that continue to grow our channel next year.
Yeah, 2025 was a transitional year in a lot of ways. It was our 10th year, Sandy County Gun Owners 10th year. It was Gun Owners Radio, I think it was our 8th year.
Wow.
And we have a nice long track record. It's never enough, but we have a nice long track record of success. But we did a lot of things different in 2025. Rather than having 3 monthly meetings, each month in different areas, we changed to having like one event, whether it was an educational event or a seminar, or one night we did Second Amendment comedy night, where we actually did a comedy show, and to bring people together, because a lot of the information in the monthly meetings has been replaced by our ability to have this podcast. So back in the 90s, when you had a monthly meeting, that's how you kept up on whatever was happening.
Yeah.
Whatever your organization was. Like, hey, I got to go to the monthly meeting, see what's happening. Well, now in the day of podcasts and email, that's not really necessary. But the thing that can't be replaced by podcast and email is human interaction. So we decided, hey, let's have these events. We had an inauguration watch party, and we had some first aid classes, and we had a lecture from an attorney. We had a bunch of different types of things that were useful and fun, but also brought people together. So and then we transitioned from radio to podcast, and there were a lot of transitions happening. And I'm happy with the results. I think I'm excited about 2026. It's an election year, but I think you were talking about interaction. And it is cool to be able to be plugged in more with listeners and figure out, hey, what's on their mind and what's thinking. But I think it's kind of a double-edged sword there too. All I think about is Second Amendment. I really truly, that's my concern. I don't care about political parties. I don't work for other issues. I don't have some other ulterior motive. I care about advancing the Second Amendment. It is enormously important to me. And I think people that know me personally know that that's it, man. That's what I've dedicated my life to. And I'm happy to bring information and I'm happy to move the ball forward and get people elected and, keep people informed on, hey, here's what's going on in this city council or here's what's going on in Sacramento or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to organize and give them meaningful ways to be activists. And so many people take us up on that. It's not enough. We need more people to take us up on the activism that we organize. But I think that when I see the comments section sometimes, and it's enormously frustrating when your motivation is Second Amendment and you see comments like, well, I'm not going to listen to Dakota because she's a girl. Or, this guy is saying something I disagree with. And so, he's a big fat guy, so I'm not going to listen to him. Or this person that they're talking to or talking about, has a political opinion on some other issue that isn't Second Amendment that I disagree with. So I'm not going to support this person. I'm going to split this hair, even though they're clearly good on Second Amendment, that, they're different than me on taxes or whatever. And I mean, it just, I understand the frustration, when things, especially in our country, the way they're so divided. Mm-hmm. And when you're like, gosh, how come people don't see it? How come people don't see, how good things could be or how bad things are because of this, that, or the other opinion? But, it's just amazing to me when people throw the baby out with the bathwater, and like, golly, and it's never the people who are doing the work.
No.
It's the people that don't want to do the work and they channel all their frustration into, the comment section. And I think we could all stand to do a lot better, do a little bit more than we did last year, this year. Focus a little bit more on Second Amendment rather than like, hey, if this person isn't completely and totally pure on my, conservative litmus test, then they're evil and horrible. And it's just ridiculous. And it just doesn't go anywhere. And when you're focusing on things that don't move the ball forward, it's not helping anything anywhere, anyhow, and like, hey, let's raise the money. Let's get this person elected. Let's show that, the Second Amendment is important. Let's, continue to incrementally make things better and things will get better, rather than focus on, I don't like this person or I'm insulting this person or this person doesn't live up to whatever standard I have or whatever. It's just not helpful. And I get it. I think that like I said earlier, our show is a little bit more of a pragmatic, level-headed, like, hey, let's just get things done. That doesn't mean we compromise our principles in any way. It just means that we're extremely focused on Second Amendment and on making good things happen, not reporting on what other people are doing, not, getting lost in this philosophical, nebulous, book club discussion. No. Let's do the things it takes to get people elected. Let's show up for them, get them elected, and then hold them accountable. And oh, by the way, if they, once they're elected, if they don't do what we need them to do, then, then let's replace them with somebody who will, So anyway, I think that's the one thing that we should do better. I think that learning about, the listeners has been extremely great. I think that most of the people who listen to the show don't comment. They show up and they get the work done. Their story isn't told nearly as much as it should be. It's the people that don't do anything that, just sit back and throw grenades. It's such a waste of time. So anyway, thank you guys very, very much for being on the show and making it great. I really, really, I got to tell you, so many times you guys have come up with ideas and I get insanely jealous at what a great idea it is. And I'm so happy when you guys, point something out that I never would have thought of or whatever. I mean, you guys do so much work and it's so thankless. And, this is something we do on our spare time, and it's so valuable. And I just really appreciate you guys so much. So
Thank you for all that you do, Mike.
yes, ma'am.
Put a lot of time into it. A lot of heart. Appreciate you.
Well, there you go. Well, happy Christmas and Merry New Year to everybody. And next week's show, we're going to talk about some of the changes that are happening in the law for 2026. So tune in for that. And don't forget, like, follow, comment, go to our different other platforms and follow us there. And, ignore the negativity. Just continue to do what you need to do and do a little bit more this year than you did last year. So.
Or come to our defense in the comments, because I love seeing a good tit for tat in the comments, especially when I don't have to do it. When I don't have to stick up for myself, it's great.
There you go.
When your rights are on the line and the fight gets real, you need a lawyer who knows the deal. From gun laws to courtrooms, he'll stand by you. John Dillon fights for the red, white, and blue. John Dillon defending your rights, keeping bare arms with truth and might. From GVROs to self-defense calls, Dillon Law Group, he fights for us all. When freedom's under fire, who you gonna call? Dillon Law Group, justice for all. DillonLawGP.com.
So the lifeblood of every organization is membership. We absolutely need membership. And you as a Second Amendment activist want to be involved. You want to help make things better. And we have a way for you to be involved, get involved, and stay involved. Look at our volunteer page. If you go to sdcgo.org/volunteer, we keep it up to date, and there's always an opportunity for you to get more involved. Our bread and butter are our shooting socials, where we teach people how to shoot. They've never had a shooting experience. Maybe they're brand new to shooting and they want to have a first-time shooting experience. You can help us do that. Or if you want to help spread the word, we have tabletops at different gun shops, at different events, and you can volunteer to tell people more about the Second Amendment, more about how to get a CCW, or more about being a member of an organization like SDCGO. The good news is it's super easy. We'll help train you. We'll help you get involved. We'll give you the opportunity to do good things.
If you don't have the time to volunteer, there's another way that you can help too. We are always looking for folks to donate. And if you want to pledge $5,000 in this next year, we will have you on our show as a guest host. So come join us in the studio. We would love to have you here for one episode, and that is for a price of $5,000.
$5,000 donation to San Diego County Gun Owners gets you a guest host with me and Dakota and Alicia, and you get to talk about whatever you want to talk about, and you get to do whatever you want to right here on Gun Owners Radio. So thank you so much. Whatever you do, just do a little bit more than you did last year and help us defend and preserve the Second Amendment right here in your backyard.
I'm going to talk a little bit today about Massad Ayub. Those of you who have never had the opportunity to train with Massad, he is a legend in this industry. He was a former police officer. He has a ton of experience with deadly force, and he has a phenomenal instructor program called Deadly Force Instructor. I went all the way to Detroit back in 2022 to take this class from him, and you guys are super lucky. He is going to be coming to San Diego, so you don't have to travel far to get into this class. One of the things that I really appreciated about this class is the opportunity to do a mock trial. We got to actually play different roles in this trial, figure out who gets acquitted or not acquitted, and just deal with all of those repercussions as if they were real. So we had lawyers in class who were, actually debating their client's case. We had different witnesses go on the stand. I got to play the daughter of one of the characters on the stand, so that was a lot of fun. But it was just a great opportunity for us to experience how a good attorney can really make or break somebody's case. And we've seen this time and time again in the deadly force instructor class. Sometimes you have an attorney who gets you off, and sometimes you have an attorney who doesn't. So it's a good opportunity for you to recognize how important the law process is and making sure that you have a good attorney. It's also a great way to make sure that you're teaching your students the best, most well-practiced pieces of the law. So for example, in class, Masad Ayub will go over a ton of different cases and do some case studies on how these cases turned out so that you can go back to your students with some real life knowledge of how these things played out in court. One of the biggest takeaways for me in this class was the amount of knowledge Masad Ayub had. And this guy knows so much about so many things. I took probably 8 pages of notes in this class, and I was able to come back to San Diego and I really revamped my entire CCW curriculum based on what I had learned. So not only is it real life data from actual shootings, actual defense situations, but it's also just a wide breadth of knowledge from an instructor who has literally decades of experience in this topic. I really enjoyed the class, and I think you would too. Go ahead and join us in San Diego if you are an instructor wanting to make sure that your students are getting the best information about deadly force and use of force. And if you're a defense attorney and you want to get a little bit of experience in a classroom with a bunch of folks who have the potential to use a firearm for protecting their own life in the future. So it's a great opportunity for you to learn about deadly force, being a better instructor, and being a better attorney.
Riding Shotgun with Charlie, one of my favorite Second Amendment internet guys, one of my favorite people in the whole world. He's such a pleasure to talk to. He's even more fun to hang out with. Love him to death. He did what I'm describing as his second most important interview of all time, and that is his interview with Sam from Stump My Nephew right here on Gun Owners Radio. That interview second only to when you interviewed me, which was quite an honor. But I wanted to have you come on, Charlie, and talk a little bit about your show, and then talk about the interview with Sam. But mostly, I just wanted to gaze upon your smiling face. How are you, man?
I am doing fabulous. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, dude, I love your show. I love Riding Shotgun with Charlie. I just think it's so entertaining and unique to Second Amendment. And it's when I say it's unique, I mean, there isn't anybody doing exactly what you're doing. There's a lot of interviews out there. There's a lot of people, questioning folks on the Second Amendment. They're talking about, but there's nothing as human centric as Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Like, you really get to know people in the Second Amendment world as human beings in Riding Shotgun with Charlie, and that's my very, very, very favorite part of it.
Well, thank you, man. I obviously stole the idea from carpool karaoke and comedians in cars getting coffee, and that's okay. James Corden is chubby and he's English, and I'm chubby and I speak English. So I was like, this can't be that hard to do, right? So,
well, I didn't know about you were stealing from carpool karaoke?
Carpool karaoke, yeah.
How come we didn't get to sing? I didn't get to sing in my next time. If there's a next time.
Sure.
I love karaoke. I don't know if you guys know this about me. I sing karaoke all the time.
I've seen that actually.
Really?
On Facebook.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's okay. Well, we can do that if we need to. We can.
I'm going to work on my song. It's like working on your walk-up song for baseball.
Yes,
I got to work on my.
That's right.
Riding Shotgun with Charlie song.
Totally. Yeah, it's. If I had any idea how much it was going to cost me to have a show and travel around the country and do all this stuff, I probably would not have done it. But I absolutely love it. It gives me something to do. I love it when people I love it when people just refer to me as Charlie, and they're like, "Oh my God, have you been on Charlie's show?" Right? And I absolutely love that, which is ridiculous. So my show is the one that the insiders in the gun community watch. It's not, obviously not everybody watches it, but the people that matter are the ones that watch my show. This is what I've been told, at least. I sound like Trump when I say that, right? Somebody told me. It's been said that, but I'm honored by that, which is really cool.
That's cool. Well, it's led to some cool things. Like, you have your show, which is awesome, and you have some fantastic guests, and but it's also led to other things in the Second Amendment community that I'm not sure how many people know about you. So, what other things are you involved with that have come of you being on Riding Shotgun with Charlie?
There's been a lot of things. So after I started doing Riding Shotgun, I did it for a while. I talked Amanda Suffolcool into letting me MC one of her fashion shows with her.
Yeah.
So that's given me the opportunity to do those with her around the country. It's given me the chance to speak at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. And the first time I spoke at that was in 2016. And that was when I was just putting shows out. I'd interview Mark Walters from Armed American Radio. And he asked me a couple days after I did the show with him, he's like, "Hey, this is really cool. There's no one doing anything like this. Do you want to speak at the Gun Rights Policy?" No, I want to help out. And I'm like, "I don't really know what that means, but I'll take it." And then he called me 2 days later and he's like, "Do you want to speak at the Gun Rights Policy Conference?" I'm like, "Oh my God, of course I do." And so a month later, I'm at the Gun Rights Policy Conference and hobnobbing and schmoozing and overwhelmed by all of it. But the next year I knew more people, and I had, I'd done more shows, and I only do 2 shows a month because it's enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To travel and edit and everything. But from there in 2019, I got the Blogger of the Year award at Gun Rights Policy Conference. And I thank you. And then I talked to Freddie Reel at AmmoLand, and I said, "Hey, would you like to have my award-winning show on your website?" And he's like, "Sure, you got to write 600 words for our SEO." And I was like, "Oh man, that's the worst part for me, is to go back and watch the show and edit it, to write about it after I've edited it." So I started putting the show out on AmmoLand, or they started putting the show out there. Then a couple years later, I got somebody asked me if I wanted to write for Armed Lifestyle magazine. And I'm like, "Sure, what are we going to do?" And they're like, "We're going to call it Writing Shotgun with Charlie. And you're going to go back, and you're going to re-interview the people you've had on the show. And you're going to write a 2,000-word article about the 2 interviews." I'm like, "Great. 600 words now seems easy, right?" So that happened. And then, our good friend John Petrolino was, this was like junior high at a dance. He talked to some guys at this website called News 2A. And he said to them, he's like, "Hey, this guy, Charlie Cook, I think I get him to write some articles for you guys." And then he went to me and says, "Hey, if you want to write some articles for News 2A, I think we can get them published there." So I was like, "Okay, let's do this." So I started writing at News 2A. And that's been pretty cool. And I actually a year ago I reconnected with someone I had on the show that's a snub revolver guy, and he was trying to start to make more videos. So he's like, "You're just the guy I need to see. We're going to start making some videos." So we started making some videos, and then he's like, "You know what? I need you to take some pictures for a book that I'm working on." So I go up to his house and take some photos for the book, and then I when they did they do a shoot around Halloween where everyone's got to dress up in a fedora and an overcoat, and you're using your J-frame 5-shot revolver, sometimes the 6-shot Colts and stuff. And so I put a camera on my head. I got video of me shooting this little thing that we had, or this little snub revolver shoot, and I turned that into an article. So I got to write for the Snub Noir website. So
wow,
it's been really cool. And then of course there's these kinds of things. And I guess the biggest thing for me is when I started to do the show, I wanted to increase my circle of friends, and I now get to travel around the country, and I got friends everywhere I go. So
before the show, something else broke. Big. What was that first big thing?
So the first thing I started doing was I started making videos playing the trumpet with one hand and shooting a gun with the other. And it's funny to me when I talk to people. I was a guest on one show last year, and they didn't know anything about this. Right? They're like,
Yeah.
what are these things that you're talking about? I'm like, it's I call them gungrams. It's me playing the trumpet with one hand and shooting a gun with the other. And they're like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, Markiplier's had them on. They've been on Comedy Central. I got 6 million views on my YouTube channel, but nobody's seen them. So I'm okay. That's all right.
I think it's great. So basically, you play a song because you're a musician.
Yes. Yeah, went to school, a music school, to be a music teacher. Been teaching for many years, since the 1900s. I've been teaching music,
Yeah.
and this was a way to. I was talking with a buddy
Mozart
of
was
mine.
your most prized student, I believe.
Yeah, right.
It was so. What you do is you play a song on the trumpet, and then you emphasize notes with gunfire.
Yes, it's like a percussion instrument.
Yeah, the gun. You've turned a gun into a percussion instrument.
Absolutely, the total Glock in spiel.
That's awesome. Who's your? Obviously, we have to remove me from the running because I know you'd obviously say I was your favorite. But other than me, who is your absolute favorite interview? Who is an interview that just was great and you had a lot of fun? And is there?
Oh man, there's really a ton of them. I got to interview the show that's been watched the most is with Johnny Russo, who was Carlo Rizzi in The Godfather. And
how did that happen?
Well,
how'd you get that guy?
My son, blonde hair, blue eyed kid in high school, was very much into The Godfather and mobsters and stuff. So Johnny Russo had put a book out called Hollywood Godfather, and he was doing a book signing in the western part of Massachusetts. So I said, let's go to this. And so as we're standing in line, I said to my son, I said, do you think I should give him one of my business cards and ask him if he wants to be on the show? And he's like, Dad, you can't do that. I'm like, I'm doing it. So
accepted.
Right. So I get up there, I give him my card. I tell him that I interview people in the car. And he's like, I said, he was doing book signing at another bookstore the next day. So I said, I can drive you to the bookstore or something. He's like, yeah, it sounds great. So I'm at home that night. He gives me a phone call. He's like, what time do you want to meet tomorrow? I'm like, oh, all right. They're like, this is really happening. Wow. I had to call I was driving a Nissan Sentra. So I had to call up one of my friends who's successful. I'm like, hey man, I need to borrow your Cadillac.
That's awesome. How many bodies can you fit in a?
It's right.
Right. Yeah, that's perfect.
So of course he looks in the back seat before he sits in the front seat. Yeah. Nobody's there, and that was really cool. That was really cool. And it was all just not a dare from my son, but hey, won't this be cool kind of a thing.
What did he say after? Was he impressed with Dad?
Yeah, that lasted for a while because he's like, oh yeah, whatever, Dad. Okay. My kid's like Janet Jackson. Like, what else have you done? Like, that was nice. What's next? Right. So that was really cool.
Has anybody turned you down? Have you ever been like, hey, there's like, no, I don't want to do that.
I've had a couple people. Yeah. A couple people have. For
like a legit reason, or are they just kind of shy, or what was the deal?
One of them was like, you know what? I don't really know who you are. And it was a female, and she's like, I don't really know who you are. And I'm not really comfortable with this. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, I'm not going to get upset about it.
What about Alicia? Are you more comfortable now? Would you change your mind?
Maybe.
But is there anybody that's just like, I don't know. Cause the cool thing about your show is there's not, you get to know people. I haven't seen like a gotcha show or anything like that. I mean, believe me, some of the interviews I've done have created enemies, and you go everywhere creating friends. You're like doing, the Lord's work when it comes to Second Amendment community building.
Well, thanks, man. I like I said, I want to increase my circle of friends. So I'm not, I don't want to interview anti-gun folks because I'm not. Unlike Dakota, I'm not really good at remembering all the stats and the talking points. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to get in some situation where I zing somebody. Like that's. Plus, we're in a car, for God's sakes. Like that would be bad.
Do you have a dream? Like, I really want to interview this person, but you just haven't.
Oh, totally. The early on, I was like, you know what? I want to interview Ted Nugent in a helicopter as we're shooting hogs with M16s. Like that would be a cool show. Right.
How do
But
we
I'm,
make
I'm
that
like,
happen? Have you reached out to him?
I've reached out a couple times. I did ask, what did I do? I interviewed this gentleman, Jeff Zimba, and Jeff Zimba tests machine guns up in Maine, and he's friends with Uncle Ted. So I was like, there's a stepping stone there. I got to somehow nurture that, you know.
Have you met him at
I
all? Have you
reached-
ever met Uncle Ted?
I haven't. So 2 years ago at SHOT Show, I had a couple friends of mine come with me, and I was running around like doing stuff, trying to record shows and connect with people and whatnot. And these two guys run into Uncle Ted. They send me a picture like, "Hey, guess who we saw?" I'm like, "Oh, who?" They're like, "Ted Nugent." I'm like, "Oh, come on, man."
I met him
I
once.
did.
I
Yeah.
met him. I'll tell you. You know what he said to me? I love this. I was doing volunteer work for the NRA. It was around like 2010, 2011, something like that. It was we were in Pittsburgh. I remember that. So it's whatever year that was, 2011, 2012, something. And the NRA flew me out to help with the show, the annual show, and it was really cool. And I was meeting everybody. It was really, really cool. Politicians, whatever. And I really, really wanted to meet Ted Nugent. I was really hoping that was going to happen. When I was a kid, I remember I actually thought that his arms were guitars, from the album.
The album cover. Yeah.
I remember, Wango Tango and Cat Scratch Fever, and I just thought he was the coolest when I was like 5, right?
Yeah.
So he, sure enough, walking down a big hallway, he's walking towards me, and I was like, oh, thank God I get to meet him. And I went up and said hello to him. He was actually late for something else, but he was super nice, said hello, and I kind of walked with him for a few steps. And he saw on my name tag that I was from California, and he goes, "Oh, California, you're from the belly of the beast, brother." And kept walking. And I was like, it was like
awesome.
I know, I stopped walking and just just basked in the in the
moment.
glory. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So that was
That's great.
that was my Ted.
I went.
Nugent.
So after I got divorced, I told myself I was going to try to catch Uncle Ted every time he comes in the area.
Yeah.
And the year I got divorced, one of my friends put up on his Facebook page, he's like, "Hey, dove season starts on September 1st. Who wants to, who's going dove hunting?" And I'm like, if I was out there, I'd go. And then I'm like, wait, I don't have anyone to tell me no. So I booked a flight. I said, "Hey man, I'm coming out," and stopped at Walmart and got some ammunition. And we went and I shot I got in late at night. The next morning I shot a squirrel, I shot a dove, and then we didn't shoot anything for 2 days. But we did go see Ted Nugent that night. So it was a complete redneck weekend.
Oh, I love that for you guys.
Yeah. And then of course, I killed the bird of love and ate it, but it's all good.
Is it embarrassing to admit that I had to Google who this was?
Who Ted Nugent was?
Yes, I did not know.
I don't know what to say about all that.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I really don't know what to say.
I literally opened a new tab and Googled, and I was like, "Oh, a
Ted
musician
Nugent.
of some kind."
Yeah, he is. He's a musician of some kind.
Of some kind.
Well, I got to tell you, so Dakota is not only too young for his first round of being popular with Wango Tango and all that and Terminus El Dorado. She's too young for the second time. He was in the 90s when he was a part of Damn Yankees. You were even too young for his second coming of Ted.
Right.
Nugent. So
I've never even heard of Damn Yankees.
that's okay.
Oh my goodness.
That's all right. It was a colorful Oakley, fantastic time.
A lot of hair.
Hair metal.
A lot of hair.
I'll go listen to some of it on
lot of hair.
my drive home,
That'll-
just to experience it.
There you go.
So really what you should check out, there are videos of Uncle Ted riding a buffalo onto the stage to a concert. And then he has a hanging guitar and he shoots a flaming arrow at the hanging guitar. So it's,
You know what? I
will watch that
I
video.
just remembered. I saw Ted in concert here in San Diego around 2000, and he actually did that on stage. He had his guitar hanging and took a flaming arrow and shot it into the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
He was opening up for Kiss at Sports Arena.
Now, Kiss I've heard of.
You've heard of Kiss?
Yes, yeah, I know a couple songs.
But this wasn't 1978 because I would have been 2. This was 2000. I was a full-grown adult, and I went and saw Ted Nugent open for Kiss.
I was 2.
You were 2?
that
There
was
you go.
That was the Kiss's farewell tour. I saw that tour as well. I think, oh God, it
One
was
of their
Skid
farewell
Row,
tours.
Skid Row, Ted Nugent, and then Kiss came out.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so you had the enormous honor of interviewing Stump My Nephew, Sam. Sam, my nephew, does a segment here on the show that everybody I know is familiar with. And you guys interviewed him up in Salt Lake City just a couple months ago at Gun Rights Policy Conference.
Gun Rights Policy Conference. Yeah, it was great. He's a really nice guy. He's kind of quiet, kind of reserved, unbelievably smart. He doesn't know anything about the Webley revolvers, and we can't really hold that against him. But he's very, very cool, very smart. Nice guy, easy to talk to.
What'd you learn about him on the segment?
Oh, his college degree is in international affairs.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And I'm like, how do you parlay that into a job where you're, a writing editor for Leatherneck magazine? How does that work out? And he's like, it's not it's the skills you learn when you're doing the research and the studying. He says he loves going in and reading old books and going to museums and trying to figure out the mechanics of firearms and stuff and how things work.
That's really Rich, cool. Do you have the segment up? Okay, so are you able to play? No. Okay, good. Perfect. We prepared for this segment, but it was an excellent interview. I thought it went really, really well. He really is. He really is an amazing guy. I just can't believe it. I remember when we first started having him on the show. That was years ago now, and you never know, like, how's this going to go, and how long is this going to go? The guy's amazing. And as far as being an editor, he's phenomenally amazing. I've sent him, I'll write something, and it's something that's important, but maybe I don't have a lot of confidence in the way that I wrote it, and I'll send it to him. And he's just amazing. Like, half hour he emails it back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, those are great suggestions. I hadn't thought about that. The way that he rephrased it is perfect. But yeah, he does a great job. I mean, above and beyond what we already know about him, which is he's really good at gun trivia. He's an amazing guy.
Hey, there he is.
And there he is. Oh, look at us just gushing. And the funny thing is, he's like I still think of him as like this little tiny guy. Like, I remember him when he was a little tiny guy, and now he's like this accomplished, man. It's kind of weird. So in my head, he's still this little tiny guy that, used to tell on me when I would pick on him. So anyway,
that's crazy.
How's it going, Sam? Welcome.
Glad to be here, especially now that you've spent the last 5 minutes giving me a big head.
Yeah, there you go. Well, what did you think? What did you think of Charlie in the interview? How did it go for you?
Oh, I had a great time, but I haven't gone back and listened to it because I can't stand the sound of my own voice.
Well,
I'll do it eventually.
Really well.
It's really not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Like, your voice isn't bad, but you do get used to hearing yourself,
no.
It doesn't get better. You just get used to it.
Yeah, you just get used to it. You're like, all right, well, that is what it is.
All right. So I think what we're going to do here is, I think we're going to do a Stump My Nephew, right?
Yeah.
We ready? And I think what we're going to have our guest here actually ask the question. Is that all right, Sam? Are we allowed to have a guest ask the question?
Absolutely.
All right.
Especially if it's Charlie.
There you go.
Well, as I think that we have to throw a disclaimer out that he hasn't seen this question. I barely saw the question. But here we are. This is Stanley from Santee asks, was the Civil War era Maynard Carbine a breech loader or a lever action?
And then we have an actual, before you answer, show the actual picture. We're going to actually show the picture. He provided a picture
before Sam answers, we're going to show the picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that you can see. So here's why we're asking, or here's why Stanley from Santee is asking, was the Civil War era Maynard Carbine a breech loader or a lever action? There it is. Can you see it, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay, so there it is.
I've seen this in pictures. I've heard of it, usually in reference to, it's like the also ran with the Sharps carbine. I'm not really familiar with the firearm, though.
Oh, all
From
right. Well, here,
the
let's go back to
looks
Sam.
of it,
Let's go back to Sam. So go ahead. Was it a breech loader or a lever action?
well, this is just me going off of what I see in the picture because, as I said, I really don't know anything about the Maynard Carbine other than the name and that it existed and was used in the Civil War. Well, lever action and breech loading are not necessarily mutually inclusive, and they're not mutually exclusive. Usually, what we think of when we hear lever action is a repeating firearm that uses a manual lever to cycle the action. That has usually a tubular magazine, sometimes a box magazine. And I see an open breech there, but I don't see a magazine. So I'm going to say single shot breech loader using a lever to open the action, which was not a super uncommon mechanism at the time. Like I know the Hall rifle and Hall carbine used sort of a lever to open the action, but they were only single shot weapons. There were a few others that, again, I'm really like the listeners obviously know that I'm not good with Civil War firearms, so they keep asking about them because they want to get a special prize.
Well, you're in Virginia. You got to get good at Civil War firearms if you live in Virginia. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. What's your answer? Go ahead.
I'm going to say it's single shot breech loader using a lever to work the breech, but not a lever action as we would. It's lever action, Jim, but not as we know it.
Okay.
Not a repeating firearm.
Okay, we have a video. We have a video answer. So we're going to play the video here.
Oh,
Right?
that is weird.
Very unique. Boom. So technically, this is a breech loader. It does have a lever, but the action is not lever action because, like you very intelligently pointed out and thought it through, there is no magazine. There's no magazine for the lever to work from. So it's a breech loader. When the gun's lever was depressed, the barrel rose, opening the breech for loading. Afterwards, the lever was raised to close the gun's breech. Once cocked, the loaded weapon could be primed by either placing a percussion cap, which is what we just saw, a percussion cap directly on its nipple, or by using Maynard's priming system to advance a primer to the nipple. So there you go. You got it right. I think that when people give me feedback on your segment, Sam, on Stump My Nephew, the way that you like deduct your way through it, is that right? I got an approving nod from Dakota, so I think I used the word correctly. But the way you use deductive reasoning to get to your answer when you're not quite sure, you don't know the answer, that's everybody's favorite part. So I think this was about as good an example of you doing that as I've ever seen, because I wouldn't have thought of that. But so there you go, man.
Well, I really liked the video demonstration, video explanation, because that's really bizarre as a transitional stage between your muzzle loaders, or there were a few, like, again, the Hall sort of quasi breech loaders that did not use fixed ammunition, so you have to load in the powder and the ball, and then deal with either a flintlock, put powder in the flash pan, or if it's a percussion system, put the percussion cap on there or advance the tape. But you, as we saw in the video, you have a brass cartridge case that clearly has powder and bullet in it, or powder and ball in the parlance of the time, but no internal primer. So it has 2 out of 3. That's weird. I've never seen something like that demonstrated. That's really interesting.
Pretty interesting. And if memory serves, it came in 50 caliber, 52 caliber, and there's like some other weird caliber, something really, really small, something in the 30s, but the two primary calibers were 50 and 52, I believe, if memory serves. But you're right, it is kind of a weird, kind of a missing link between eras of firearms. It's the Tyrannosaurus Rex with feathers, is what we just saw there. Okay, that reference
this is
flat.
one of the cool things about
No, Mike, it was nothing like that.
researching old and obscure firearms is that, like, we know where we are now and we know where we started, but there are all of these intermediate steps of example, repeating bolt action military rifles were common before box magazines were widespread. And so there was this period of a few short years in like the 1880s or thereabouts that there were smokeless powder repeating bolt action rifles that used tubular magazines like you would expect out of a shotgun or a lever action rifle these days, or things like that, where it's, okay, clearly fixed ammunition is the way of the future. It enables breech loading systems to really work properly, and it's a lot faster, but we haven't put the primer in the case yet. It still uses a percussion cap. That's, as you said, a missing link.
There you go. Charlie, what do you think, man? You nailed it.
I'm always impressed. Always impressed that he knows all this stuff and works his way through them.
Have you ever sent in a question, Charlie?
I have not, because I don't. Everything that I could find out, I assume Sam knows.
All right. Well, I'm giving you a homework assignment. We have 1 week just to send in Sam a question. I want to see what a Charlie question would look like, and try to stump him, man. Like, if he keeps getting them right, he gets all arrogant and cocky.
Feels good about himself.
Walking around the house like he owns the place.
Can't fit him to the door.
Yeah. So we got him.
Well, I'll tell you right now. I've said it before. Everything I know, or most of the stuff I know, is publicly accessible. You can go find it in a book anywhere. So that means that you can also find the stuff I don't know in a book anywhere. It's not difficult.
I actually have a really old book about guns, and I'm going to bring it in, and maybe we can find some questions in it.
Stump
old
him?
stuff. Good.
Yeah, I have I don't know exactly what year it was published. I want to say it was like 1918 or something. It's like a really old manual that has like specs and stuff for guns.
So
I
even
don't know.
before Ted Nugent.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yeah, this actually was even before. I love books. I just like buy random books. I can't help myself. It's probably a problem. And so I was not even into guns yet, didn't even own a gun yet. I was like 19, and I just like saw this book at a thrift store and was like, oh, this looks so old. Like, I want a really old book. So I bought it. And then later on, years later, got into guns. So just kind of funny and random. But it's a old catalog kind of looking thing.
Foreshadowing. We call
Yes.
that foreshadowing.
Yeah. Also, I just want to clarify: the nod of approval was not saying that you used the word correctly. It was like close enough.
Okay.
The word is deduce.
All right.
Deduct means to like subtract something.
Well, thank you. I appreciate. Glad we got.
Had to bring that back around.
Glad I got corrected on air like that. That's fantastic. We'll cut that part out, Rich. Anyway, so we're leaving that on the cutting room
Everyone
floor.
knew what you meant. It's fine.
That'll never cut that in post.
Earlier, you had said 59 states, by the way.
Yes,
Just throughout-
I heard
yeah, the
that
49.
too.
I didn't want to interrupt
Did
your
I?
flow.
Yes,
yeah, you said
yeah.
59.
Oh my gosh! Anything else? I mean,
When did you get the other 10?
There were a few flubs today,
All right.
but it's okay.
no,
It's all right. End of the year, we got to get
Christmas.
all of our flubs out.
So, all right, I'm going to ask you guys both another question before we go. Give us something you're really excited about. Sam, we'll start with you. Something you're really excited about, Second Amendment wise, and it doesn't have to be some big national thing. Maybe it's something about the show or something about your collection or what you want to do or your training, or maybe it is something national or statewide or whatever. Anything you're really excited about, in 2026, Second Amendment related. Sam, what do you got?
Oh boy. Well, I live in Virginia. I don't know if you're fans of state level politics at all.
Well, I know that Virginia, it didn't go real well in your elections.
No, and I was absolutely expecting it to go the way it did. I don't know why people are so surprised about it, but You said something I'm excited about, not
Yeah.
something I'm concerned about. So I'll try to phrase this I'll frame it in a positive way.
Okay.
I'm excited for Virginia's inevitable slate of bans on features and on magazines and stuff like that to get tied up in court and hopefully go all the way to the Supreme Court, so that when our assault weapons ban, that's probably going to pass in a month or two, gets struck down, then all of yours will as well. But that's kind of a pipe dream. That's just
The only way to make a negative a
fingers
positive.
crossed.
So you're excited about winning. You're fighting and winning is what you're excited about. To crush your
I'm
enemies.
excited about the
See them driven before
crap
you.
that the state legislature passes. Yeah.
All right. That's something to be excited about. I like it. Sir Charles, what about you, man? What are you excited about in 2026 that's Second Amendment related?
So I'm excited that this is the year that John Petrolino is able to make it to events. He won't be able to make it to SHOT.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
But I know.
Wait. He's not making it to SHOT?
He's not making it to SHOT.
This
yes.
slacker.
He's,
what is going on?
I know.
With this guy?
He's going to be in the Gulf of America, living a Jimmy Buffett lifestyle, living on a boat.
Will he call me again?
Will he call you?
Like ever again?
He called me when we were in Utah. He couldn't make it, but he called me.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure he will. I'm sure
not
he
taking
will.
his
But
call. At SHOT, if I see you talking to him on the phone, I'm hanging that up. That is, I am tired of his excuses. I'm starting to question his commitment to us, frankly. To all
right,
of us.
I know, right? We need to. Yeah, I hear you. Anyway, so
what do
after,
you mean? So wait.
So,
John Petrolino is going to make it to what? GRPC?
So we're going to make it to 2 weeks after SHOT is the Great American Outdoor Show in Harrisburg. So we're doing that opening weekend. He is, I'm very 99% sure he's making it to the NRA annual meetings this year.
Oh, wow. All right.
So you need to make sure you put that on the schedule. And I think this is the year he can make it to Gun Rights Policy Conference. So it's great to go to these things and hang out with your people, which is awesome. Something else I'm looking forward to is my son bought a handgun last year, and I bought him a holster. And then I bought a holster. We have similar guns. I bought a holster like in Appendix IWB that I don't really care for. So I said, here, you take this, see if it works for you, And for Christmas, he wanted a range bag and a couple of mag carriers.
Wow.
So I got those for him for Christmas. And I said, hey, you know what we need to do next year? We need to take a class at, both of us be students. And I'm just going to go and be like, hey, here's the stuff. We're going to do all the things. And somebody else is going to teach you. And it doesn't have to be me. But I want to do that with my son this year. So
Wow. So do you have the class lined up?
Not yet. I'm not sure. There's a gentleman I've taken a class with, and I interviewed. His name is Ben DeWalt, and Ben's an amazing instructor. He's been going to Rangemaster Tom Givens. I think he's one of the few, if one of the only people that scored 100 on everything when he did the instructor stuff at for Rangemaster. So he's a really great guy to take classes with, and he travels all up and down the East Coast. Doing classes in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Pennsylvania, New York and Connecticut and everything. So I want to try to get into a class with him, but I want to make sure it's a good class that my son's going to be, he'll find beneficial.
So what did he buy?
Yeah.
He bought, he doesn't listen to anything I do. So I'm speaking freely here.
Uh-oh.
So I bought
wait. Stop. We have any guesses as to what he bought that Charlie's not totally happy with? What do you think?
Smith and Wesson Shield.
Well, wait a minute. What car does he drive?
Yeah, there
My
you go.
son?
What kind of car does he drive?
My son's got I think it's just a Toyota Camry.
A Toyota Camry. Toyota
And
Camry.
Charlie, what
I had a good
do you
picture
carry?
in
Is it you carry a 365, right? Or no?
Me?
Carries a revolver.
I carry a J-frame, baby.
Yeah.
I carry a 637.
All right, here's my
637.
Here's my
Good
guess.
choice.
Ready? You got it, Sam? You got any other questions for him?
Well, the fact that he says he's not happy with his son's choice makes me think it's got.
Oh, I know what he bought.
It's gotta
I know
be
exactly
Smartmatic.
what he bought.
I think I'm going with XD. What do you got?
Oh no,
What do you got,
no
Sam?
XD.
Sam, give
Oh,
your
please,
guess.
no. Well, you said you have similar guns. He obviously bought whatever Taurus's J-frame is.
Oh.
I wouldn't let him do that.
You bought a
Or
Taurus.
maybe a
It wasn't a
Ruger.
Taurus.
I bet he got an LCRX or something.
Taurus is
Because
getting better.
you
these
said
days, I
similar. You said
what
similar.
do you got? Dakota, you
Given
got a
that
guess?
he drives a Toyota Camry, that inclines me to lean toward Glock, but you said similar. You said it's similar to what you have.
think. Yeah, I don't have a guess for a revolver. If it's a semi-auto, I guess
It is a semi-auto that he has.
Okay, I'm gonna guess like a car or a high point.
Ooh, no.
Yeah.
No.
love
What do you
this.
got, Alicia?
Friends don't let friends buy High Point.
Yeah.
He said he wasn't happy with it.
I'm going to go with the Hellcat.
Hellcat. All right, so we got a Hellcat, we got a car, we got an XD. What else do we got?
What was your choice?
How old is the car? The Toyota Camry?
Oh God, I don't know. It's not too old.
10 years old, we'll say.
And I think it's less
Okay,
than 10 years.
Yeah, it could be a Hellcat then, actually.
All right, go ahead. What do you got? Reveal.
He got a SIG 365. Now,
Wow. Disappointing.
Oh,
Really?
uno
It's not the
momento.
California version. He's fine.
Yeah.
It's
You're disappointed. I never would have guessed that.
Let
Why?
Charlie
so
speak.
here's-
Let him.
So my son's like 6'1". He's kind of a tall guy. He's got big hands. I bought a 365 XL a couple weeks before that. And then he's like, I think I want to buy a handgun. I'm like, let's go to the range. We did some shooting. He went and got the regular 365, even though it was
Wow.
too small for his hand.
Mhm.
So I ended up finding the little pinky extenders. And I got to tell you, those are game changers. I really think so. I used to think they're ridiculous. They're game changers. So I got some pinky extenders for my 365 XL. I got some for his magazines, and it still was a little small. So here's what really I'm less than thrilled with. I got him a Wilson Combat 365 frame. I had to take it to a gunsmith to cut out the safety notches because the gun has a safety on it. Then I tried to, I'm not a very handy guy, so I tried to take out my fire control unit to put in the Wilson Combat just to see if I could do this, and something popped out and I couldn't get it back in.
Oh, no.
So for about 3 weeks, I tried to put it back in and move whatever moved, and then something else moved, and I'm like, all right, I'm putting it in Tupperware, and I took it to a gunsmith, and I said I would never do this again. So I bought the 365, the Wilson Combat 365 XL, which is a bigger frame, and it doesn't use his short magazines for his regular 365. So I have his 365 frame and his 365 3 magazines. I gave him 3 of my XL magazines, so I'm down to 2 magazines. And if I would have just spent $100 to like say, okay, listen, I'll pay the difference between the 365 and the 365 XL, it would have been about $200 less than I put into this already. So I'm aggravated. I'm aggravated because I know it is.
It was way
It's
deeper
such a dad
story.
answer. Too.
Yeah,
It was
I
such
never-
a dad thing.
I've spent about $300 on stuff to get my son to have a gun that's fits his hand better, when I could have just spent $100 when he bought it and said I'll pay for the difference in this, because now I got to replace 3 $50 magazines for me, and
Oh my gosh, Charlie.
I know
Well,
this is
That was such a
That's
Christmas
not an
saga.
uncommon thing. Maybe not that exact experience that you had, but having to get a gun and then having to dump a bunch more money into it to get it just the way you want it. Something that I used to tell customers back when I worked at the shop was, hey, I get paid by the hour, not by the gun. None of us make a commission here. However, and this is something I would say when a customer was going, oh, well, I really want that, but I should buy that other thing because it's cheaper, blah, 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 trying to talk themselves out of buying a gun. I would say, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter to my paycheck which one of these you buy, but I will say that if you buy the cheaper gun that you don't really want, instead of waiting a month or whatever and buying the gun you really want, or putting it on layaway or what have you, making that work for you, then you will be right back in here in 2 weeks or in 2 months or 3 months, and you'll buy that second gun, and you'll be asking about the trade-in value of the one you already bought, and I'm not going to be able to give you very much for it. So just wait, save up a little more, buy once, cry once. Get the gun you actually want, and don't try to talk yourself into liking something that you don't like.
Good advice.
Yes, I was thinking that I was trying to come up with that phrase, buy once, cry once. And I'm like, that's what he should have done. But be that as it may, I'm going to get some trigger time with my son this year.
Well, aesthetic people actually are like, oh, this is one. I want this gun because it looks cooler. Aesthetics is both the least important and most important thing about buying a gun, because it doesn't matter in any way. But if you don't buy the gun that you aesthetically want, you're gonna be. You're just gonna be all right. Fine, get the cool one that you saw in the movie. That whatever, like you got to do it. Otherwise, So I agree. I think that's good advice.
Are you looking to clean, lubricate, and protect your firearm with a green engineered product which has been battlefield tested and proven best to protect your firearm investment? Seal One is the revolutionary liquid cleaner that cuts through carbon buildup and protects against copper, lead, and future fouling. Clean, lube, and protect in one with Seal One. Ask your local gun shop or log on to seal1.com.
So we showed that we premiered this last week, and we've had a week we put it out there into the YouTubeverse, and we shared it on social media, and we got some feedback, had some time to digest it. So I wanted to see what everyone thought about it a week later. If you don't know, H.R. 38 is making its way through the House of Representatives, which is what H.R. stands for, and it is a CCW reciprocity bill. It's called the Constitutional Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act of 2025. And in effect, what it will do is whatever the carry rights you have in your state, those will travel with you to other states. So here in California, if you have a California CCW and you can carry in California, then you'll be able to carry in the other I'm told it's of the other 49 states. I'm told that there are 50 states total, so the other 49 states. If you are in a state where you just have constitutional carry, so that you can carry there concealed, then just because you're a resident of that state, then you'll be able to do that in other states. So basically, whatever manner you're able to defend yourself in your own state, that will travel with you. That's kind of a breakdown of it. But no sooner did it get introduced, the anti-gunners started putting out all kinds of anti-gunner and anti-gun and anti-CCW propaganda. I've already seen videos that made it into my feed talking about how dangerous you are just because you're a gun owner. So we came up with our own video, and I think it's going to be the first in a series, but it's our first crack. And like I said, we premiered it last week, but let's show it one more time, and then we'll talk about it. So this is our video for HR 38, which we call No Choices.
On a work trip, I have no choice. I have to leave self-defense at home. I would never stop at a place like this, but I have to use the bathroom, and I am out in the middle of nowhere. So, again, I have no choice. This state won't honor my carry permit, so I can't carry. They honor my driver's license, but not my right to self-defense. I don't know it yet, but a stranger is going to attack me in that bathroom. It will be brutal and devastating. If I survive, my life will never be the same. Anti-gun groups like Brady, Moms Demand Action, and Everytown have taken away my choice, so I can't carry here. They care more about their political agenda than my safety, my dignity, and my life.
Everyone deserves to choose their life over politics. It's time Congress fixed it. Support CCW reciprocity.
HR 38 will make it so my concealed carry permit is honored in all 50 states.
There you go. What do you think? Charlie, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts?
I dig it. I think it's really, really nice to get essentially a real story about somebody, how this is going to affect somebody, and the consequences that this lady has stopping at the gas station there. Rich is doing awesome stuff. I assume it's Rich that did this.
Yeah.
The AI stuff that he's doing is incredible, which is really cool. It's scary and a little cool, but it's a little choppy because it is AI, but I think the story that the lady's like, look, I don't know what's going to happen here. I can't carry my gun. I'm in the middle of nowhere, in a desert. And as a man and the, world being my urinal, there's plenty, I'd be on the side of the road. That's what I would do.
Glad you added that last part.
That was a good takeaway. Yeah.
Right?
Takeaway.
Like,
Just stop on the side of the freeway, pee into
absolutely.
the bushes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the AI part, it really does look good. I was saying, if I saw this in 1985, if I saw that video in 1985, it probably wouldn't even occur to me that it was not an actual person, and doing live action. But, the cost to do that commercial, that video, with AI, as opposed to getting an actor and getting a crew and going on location and doing whatever, it's like 1% of what it would have cost otherwise, which is pretty phenomenal. So our ability to use that and get a message out there that is competitive with huge organizations like Brady and Moms Demand Action, where they have these millionaires donating money to take your gun rights away. Our ability to compete with that and get a message out there and illustrate it in that manner, it's a game changer. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think the message is great. Absolutely. And it is a phenomenal way to get the word out that this is how it's going to affect people. Like this lady's, this lady can't carry across state lines, and she's on some road trip, probably for work or something. And, she runs the risk of something bad happening to her.
Yeah. So Dakota, a week later, what are your thoughts? You saw it last week. I saw that you shared it on your social media.
I did.
Did you get any feedback? Did you see any feedback? Do you have any thoughts a week later?
I didn't really get any feedback. People liked it and stuff. I didn't get any negative feedback or positive feedback really, except for the likes. I think that kind of similar to last week, similar to what Charlie said, the AI piece of it is a little bit strange just because I don't watch a lot of AI stuff. But I think your point to how many videos can be made for the same budget is super valid. And I think that it makes a lot of sense for us to be fighting the, memes and everything else that Brady and Everytown is putting out with something that feels a little bit more emotional. And this, the video content does add a little bit of emotion. And I think that's helpful for people who are on the other side of this argument to see. Because, hopefully my goal would be that this isn't just being seen by people who are already pro 2A and pro CCW, but that it's giving people who have never considered the other perspective of this issue an actual perspective to consider, because so many people who are following Everytown and Mom's Demand, they're just seeing all of these, memes and things that are somebody could have a hidden gun next to you. And this video is kind of yeah, and shouldn't she have that right? And so I think it's great.
You hit the nail on the head. So this video obviously isn't for people that already agree with us.
Right.
This video is an opportunity, or this whole situation is an opportunity for us to affect the culture, and I think that an additional, like I said, this is first in a series. I think probably there'll be a couple more. One will be somebody that could have stopped a mass shooting. Mm-hmm. Another one would be somebody who could have stopped a domestic violence incident. Had they been able to carry like they do in their home. That message that, hey, gun owners who carry concealed for self-defense, they're not a problem. They're good, upstanding people. They're a solution. And the more that message gets in front of people, the more the culture's changed. If you just see that video one time and that's it, doesn't do anything. Doesn't really do anything. But, I've seen the anti-gun video a dozen times already, and I could, it sticks. Mm-hmm. It hasn't changed my mind, obviously, but it sticks with you. And I know that, planting the seed of doubt into somebody who, is either on the fence or hasn't really thought about it, that can be very, very convincing. It gets into their head. If they're the only ones that are whispering into their ear that, hey, gun owners are dangerous, then, things aren't going to go our way. So, Sam, what about you, man? What do you think? What are your thoughts seeing it?
Well, let me preface my response to the video itself just by saying this. the whole idea of CCW reciprocity even being a political issue is totally silly. My driver's license is state issued by the Commonwealth of Virginia, and it is recognized in all throughout the United States. I'm not married, but a marriage license is state issued, and it's recognized throughout the United States and in other countries too. And neither driving a car nor getting married are enumerated in the Bill of Rights. The right to keep and bear arms, bear meaning carry in this case, it's in the Constitution, but your state issued license is not recognized nationwide. It's completely ridiculous. Now, that goes in its own little box. The video thing is a little different. I like the idea of trying to put a human face on the issue to make people understand that this isn't something about, like, we're not fiddling around with tax codes or subsidies for infrastructure or something like that. That this is a very serious thing that can be a matter of life and death for people. That said, I worry that if this video gets a lot of play, you will receive blowback and criticism for it, specifically because it's AI generated. And I think that I don't think this will be universal, and clearly it hasn't been. But I think you do open yourself up to the accusation being leveled at all of us by the anti-gunners that, oh, well, they couldn't get a real person to tell a real story. They had to have a computer make it. And I worry about that being the response there too. There's the whole AI generated content thing is very controversial right now. And I don't know if it's just a generational thing or if it's a cultural background thing, but people can recognize when something is AI generated, and when they see something being presented to them that's AI generated, some people's reaction tends to be that it's low effort and therefore they're being scammed.
It's interesting you say that. You're not the first person to bring that up. And to me, it's surprising. The one thing I've noticed are the people that are concerned about the fact that it's AI tend to be, it's like the under 40 crowd. They tend to be, everybody that's brought it up as a concern have said something very similar to what you just said. And they're all, in fact, under 40. I think they're all under like 35. It's the younger crowd seems to be really concerned with the AI aspect of it, which is interesting to me. Seems like everybody over a certain age is just kind of like, yeah, all right, cool, whatever. I wonder what that is. Maybe it's an authenticity thing, a sincerity thing. I don't know. It's so interesting to me, and maybe it's just a coincidence, but it does seem that the folks in their 20s are unimpressed by the fact that it's AI generated.
Yeah, I don't think there's a real substitute for an actual human face telling an actual human story.
Alicia, what are your thoughts on the video?
So I'm going to take it as a compliment.
Okay.
My response was actually that younger generation response. I love the message. I think the message and the words are powerful, and the point I think is very valid and very important. I don't love the AI aspect of it. It kind of bothers me. And I honestly, I thought it was the opposite. I thought it bothered me because I am older.
Because you're older?
I kind of thought that more old school. I don't know. I mean, the points that Sam made are kind of what my thoughts were too when I watched it. But I feel like the message is very important. It's very valid. I just don't love the AI, but I thought that was a me problem. So, but
it's interesting. I mean, we just don't have the budget.
I get it.
We're a podcast.
It's like
we're we just don't have the budget. I hope that some of the bigs take the lead and say, hey, we're going to spend literally 100 times as much as it took us to spend. So I'm not exaggerating. It would be about 100 times the amount of money. Now, maybe somebody out there would, hey, I'll volunteer my time or whatever. All right, but fair market value, it's about 100 times the amount of money, not 10 times. 100 times the amount of money it took to do this AI. So that's the reason. But I mean, that's what we are able to do. That's our very best effort in order to, get the message out there. I hope some of the big budget national or maybe even statewide organizations do this, and say, hey, this is an opportunity to affect culture, not just wait and hope for the best or whatever. This is an opportunity for us to show people, put a face on it, personalize the message that, hey, this is actually something that, can help and protect people. I hope they spend the money on it, but this is what we had in when we busted open the piggy bank. This is what we were able to afford. It's so interesting to me. I actually want to talk more about that with, I don't know, I want to do a little bit more investigating on that in people's reaction to AI videos. I don't know.
I will say, I think if we are going to use AI, thinking this through, if we're going to use it, I actually appreciate the fact that it has hiccups, that it has things that make it obvious AI, because I don't love, as much as I kind of see this as in part a negative, I like the aspect of we're not trying to pull it off as being real. Right? So I think that there's some clarity there, that we are not trying to pass it off as being real. So I think there's value in that.
Interesting. All right.
So I have a question. Did AI write the copy and the script?
No, I wrote I wrote the script. That was my
right.
I actually wrote the concept. When I worked with Rich, I said, hey man, here's my idea, here's the concept, and then here are the actual words. He actually came back with me and he was like, dude, you got to edit this down, or this is like a 10-minute video or whatever, 5-minute video or whatever. I was like, all right. So
Richard
I edited.
Iranian.
I had a lot to say, and so I had to edit it way down. And then, how long is it total, Rich? What is it, a minute and something?
90 seconds.
90, so it's about a minute and a half. I wanted it to be shorter than that, but it's very difficult to make a short video that has, as much information as needed, especially with a difficult or intricate issue like this. So I wrote all the copy and came up with the concept, and then Rich actually produced it. So that's interesting.
That's good. I mean, I assume that somebody would write it, because I wouldn't trust AI to come up with something like that. So I thought the copy for it was good. The story's really good, and I think it's great that you're pulling at people's emotions, which is what the anti-gunners often do.
Yeah, I think it's crucial. So do you think that for everybody, I'm just going to go person by person, the AI concern, do you think that is harmful enough to where, hey, maybe we should scrap this idea, or do you still think it's a good idea? Dakota, we'll start with Dakota. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, that is a lot of pressure. I think it's a good idea. I think that the crowds that you will get for the AI video versus like real actor video are going to be different crowds. And I think that's okay. I think that the crowd that won't mind that it's AI can still be, impacted by the message of the video. And the crowd that doesn't like that it's AI probably just won't watch, So I think it'll still reach people. It's just not going to reach, I think, as many people as a video that was done with real people would reach, or it wouldn't have the impact on that subset of the population that doesn't like AI as much.
Charlie, what do you got? What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down, more harm than good, or you think, nope, this is full steam ahead?
I'm going to say keep moving ahead, because I think it's I think we have to embrace the technology that we have and use it, and obviously embrace the stuff that we can afford and do the things we can afford. I like that the message is there. I like that it gets people's emotions and says, hey, listen, here's a different aspect or here's how it could affect this person. When you look at it in a different presentation. I don't know if the AI is going to bother me or not. It is choppy. A part of me was wondering if like you essentially changed camera angles. Like sometimes you see guys that do long videos and they'll zoom in on themselves when they cut something, and then they zoom back out. So I don't know if essentially doing different camera angles would try to eliminate the effect or the feel that it's AI. But I say it's a tool that's out there, and God bless you for using it. Like it's obviously early on, and the technology is going to grow, and the capabilities of things you can do is going to grow from it. So I think we as a gun community need to embrace that and go with it.
Alicia, what do you think?
I say we go forward with it, but I wonder if there might be benefit to having some type of owning up or disclaimer of, hey, this is an AI representation of a realistic, real life type of scenario. This is, kind of just owning the whole AI so that we kind of eliminate or maybe kind of preempt the feedback that we would get from people.
Okay.
Trying to say we're passing it off as.
That's interesting. Sam, what do you got? Thumbs up, thumbs down, more harm than good, or nah, you think this is good enough? It may, what are your thoughts?
Well, I really agree with Alicia's disclosure idea. That will go a long way to, well, I think. All of this has to be prefaced with I think, because as Charlie said, it's still early days for this type of technology. I think you definitely need a disclaimer, but I don't know what the split will be in the real world between people who see it and can't focus on the message because their gut reaction is that someone's trying to pull a fast one on them because they recognize that it's AI generated, versus the proportion of the population who won't care.
Interesting.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, I got to tell you, regardless of the video, HR 38, I think is a huge issue going into 2026. This thing has to pass. Congress has to make this law. I would prefer if it went through in its current form, or something at least as strong as its current form. I suspect that that's going to be a lot to ask, and that's unfortunate. And they're probably going to make some kind of change to it. Somebody's going to have some kind of problem with it. But this needs to get across the finish line. And Republicans and those in Congress right now, those Republicans right now who are screaming MAGA and talking about how, great everything is and how they're getting so much done under this administration, all these claims, all right, time to put your money where your mouth is. Because if you can't get CCW reciprocity over the finish line in 2026, I don't see a need to vote for you in November. And I mean, what is the point? If we can't get something this important, this obvious, and this crucial over the finish line in 2026, then, go back to doing whatever you were doing before Congress, because clearly this is not the career for you. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would we put a bunch of people into a position of power, into a legislative position, with the promise of being, pro Second Amendment, like they've made, and not be able to get anything done? The days of politicians specifically saying, oh, I'm never going to vote against guns. I'm never going to take your guns away from you. And that being good enough, those days are over. You now have to work for us. You have to earn our vote. It isn't okay to just not do something bad. That's not acceptable anymore. You have to do something good for us. So even if it's a matter of, hey, Mike, why would you, not support somebody who, is okay on gun? It may take a couple of years of pain to replace that person. But if this doesn't get across the finish line in 2026, I don't know who should remain in the House of Representatives, post failure of HR 38. Doesn't make any sense. I think this is that big. They tried CCW reciprocity during Trump's first administration. They completely screwed it up. There's just no excuse. If this doesn't make it, if we don't support this and it doesn't get across the finish line, then I think that this whole house of cards that they've built, where they're pretending to be these, conservative, red-blooded, meat-eating, Second Amendment-loving, whatever, I think it will all just fall. It's all just a facade. So HR 38, I think, is extremely important, regardless of where you stand on AI in our commercial. HR 38 is something that's extremely important going into 2026. So, all right. Thank you guys, Charlie and Sam. Thank you guys for coming on. Any final words before we wrap it up, Charlie?
Thanks for having me on. This was great. It's always fun to be on with you guys, and thank you for having me on. I thank Mike for connecting me with Sam and doing the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at Vegas, right, at SHOT Show in a couple of weeks.
There you go. Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Check him out on YouTube. Check out his interview with Sam. I think we'll probably put a link down below. You can, click directly. Sam, you got any final words?
No. I agree with Charlie. Thanks for having Charlie on, but thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Excellent. Dakota, final words?
No, I think it was great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for spending time with us.
You bet. What about you, Alicia? What do you got?
2025 has been a great year and looking forward to next year.
Me too.
That's it.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, there you go. Gun Owners Radio. Like, comment, tell everybody you know. Follow us on all your social media, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Rumble or
Truth Social.
Or
X.
Or X. Used to be Twitter or whatever.
YouTube.
There you go. So, anyway, thank you guys. Gun Owners Radio. See you guys next week.